Hi, I'm Tiffany. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to give you a 2025 legislative recap. It's in the Texas Tribune. It was written by Stephen Simpson on June the 17th of this year. And it is entitled, Texas Made Sweeping Changes to Bail and Parole Along with Increasing Penalties for Stolen Goods. Before we jump in, I want to talk to you about a few things that were mentioned in the book. So that way when I read through what passed, what didn't pass, and what was ignored, you'll have an understanding and be able to directly tie that to everything that we have been reading about this week so far. So the first thing I want to do is give you a definition of a felony. A felony is, number one, something that you will never commit. Number two, it is a serious criminal offense, and it's punishable by a $10,000 fine or more, and up to the death penalty. So it can be 6 months, 8 months, 10 years, 20 years, or the death penalty. That is considered a felony. The second definition that we should chat about is bail. Bail is money paid to the state that kind of ensures that you're going to show back up for your court date. And bail, if you can't afford it, you can get a bondsman, and you can pay him 10%. He pays 10% of the money, and you have to insure that money. So kind of here's the way it works, as short and quickly as I possibly can. I do commit a felony and I go before the court. The court says, Tiffany, it's going to cost you $100,000 for you to be bonded out because you are such a terrible criminal. And so I'm like, but Judge, I don't have, Your Honor, I don't have $100,000. And he says, well, go to a bondsman. So I go to the bondsman. The bondsman only has to pay $10,000. But in order for the bondsman to pay the $10,000, I have to ensure that the bondsman is going to recoup his money if I decide to skip out and not show up to court. So I have to say, okay, well, I have this car, it's worth $10,000. And so he says, okay, you sign your title over within this contract that says if you don't show up for your court, then I can come get your car. So it's insurance on insurance on insurance that I am going to show up on my court date to make sure that I don't skip out or skip town. Okay, there's also things called cashless bonds. Cashless bonds are when you get out on your own recognizances, which is basically you're a pillar of this community. You're so amazing. You do great work. We can't believe that this crime that you committed this crime. We know that you're not going to run away. So you can just go home because it's fine, right? That doesn't happen very often. But cashless bonds also include things like house arrest, ankle monitors, things like that. The reason that all of these are important is because of the 121 bills that were presented in this article at Legislature, they all kind of surrounded these things. So that's why I wanted to kind of get that away up front so that when we're talking about it, you know what we're talking about. The reason that all of these bills are being passed and why it's so important is, one, I think it was part of Governor Abbott's, I think it was part of his platform when he was running, that he was going to do major overhaul to the state system, the bail system. And so that's part of it. And the other part of it, and we talked about this in the book as well, is that there's severe overcrowding in jails right now. Jails are just, there are too many people doing bad things, too many. Do not add to those numbers. And so in the reading, it says that an average sentence in prison is about 21.2 years per prisoner. They have issues reacclimating into society once they've been in prison that long. And so a lot of times that leads to them ending right back up in the prison system. This also is a money issue because every prisoner costs us money. And there are billions of dollars that are being spent on prisoners in the prison system that have lower crime rates that could be out, and vice versa, right? Felons who are out on bond who probably need to be in prison. And so some of these laws are ways for them to kind of rebalance that out. All right, so let's start digging into this article so that we know what we are talking about. Okay, so first of all, there were, like I mentioned before, there are 121 bills that were proposed. Mr. Simpson talks about just a handful that were passed, a few that were failed, and some that were just absolutely ignored. And so The ones that were approved were, we are denying bail, you know what that means, to people with specific violent felonies. You know what a felony is. And we are under Senate Bill number 9. It was approved that we are going to limit cashless bonds to specific types of felonies as well. Those were proposed, those passed, those will be on the ballot in November for you to vote on to state, yes, we want to do this, or no, we don't. Okay. A couple of them that have failed are, we are not going to give AC to prisoners in Texas. That was a failed proposition. And that is one of the biggest problems, apparently, according to this article, besides overcrowding, is cooling problems. That's what it's called in the article, but I think we all know that there are no air conditions. I think what's interesting about that was that the lieutenant governor was the one who was supposed to be filing all of the paperwork for that particular bill to be heard, and he missed the deadline. Isn't that interesting? So we are not going to have AC for prisoners because of that. The other thing that happened, or that failed, the other bill that failed rather, is that the bill that was proposed was to deny unauthorized migrants bail, right? And an unauthorized migrant is basically an illegal immigrant. But that did not pass. We are still, if you're an illegal immigrant and you get thrown in jail, you still have the right to bail. And then another one is that if you have a previous felony and you are arrested for another felony, that your bail will automatically be denied. And I just think with the overcrowding in the jails, that they just cannot afford to do that. And so that one was also something that failed. One of the ones that was ignored was that there was a bill proposed stating that women who have babies in jail or have been pregnant in the last 12 months should be checked for depression, which I think is an amazing mental health proposal, right? But they didn't even have time to hear that one. And then there is another one that was not heard was if you call in a false report about a hoax of mass violence, right? I think that there was like a trend called swatting that was going on. So there was a bill to pass that. That was also not heard. And I think the icing on the cake is that one of the other ones that did pass is the one in regards to the increasing penalties for stolen goods. So in the year of 2022, $422 million worth of goods were stolen from stores, cars, whatever, by organized crime, right? And so because of that, the Texas budget lost $21 million in sales tax. And so they heard that one because it hit the pockets. And so they heard that one, they passed that one. And so there's going to be a higher penalty, higher felony charges for people who steal goods, especially over a certain dollar amount, because the state of Texas wants to make sure they get their sales tax. So anyway, I think it's pretty interesting how all of these bills that were proposed align with our reading in helping us to understand how the criminal justice system works, and then how the Texas legislature has to come in to monitor that, to funnel that, to just have this comprehensive ideology of like, what are we going to do about this? I think that it's also important that we know what is happening in our legislature when it comes to these things, because the prison systems, how we fund them, how much money we give to them, everything that's happening in our police forces, them being severely underpaid, not being able to recruit enough police officers, all of those things matter. They matter to us as citizens of Texas. They matter to us just in general, just in America in general, to know exactly how money is being spent, who's getting the money, why they're getting the money, who's going to jail, why they're going to jail. All those things help us to provide a safer, better community for everybody. So get out and vote in November. Please let me know if you have any questions. I know I like super fast zoomed through it, but I just wanted to make sure each of you knew exactly what it was that we were dealing with and exactly what to vote for in November. So thank you so much. Hope you have a great day. Bye.